UNCG LAS 694. This is a video discussing leadership. I want you to know that you are already a leader. And as a super librarian in a central office position, you're already recognized as a leader. And in this role as that expert in your field, you are the leader in all things school librarianship in your district. Take that to heart. Make sure that it's always part of your daily focus. I want you to take a few minutes to reflect on just a few things. The positives of several established leadership styles that you have studied in your educational leadership courses. Hopefully you will have gathered some of those and internalized some of those concepts. How your personality and your work habits influence your leadership style. I want you to think about how your personality coexists with other leaders at central office and with administrators at the school level. Personality, obviously, I feel, plays an important part in how you lead at the central office position. And also, I'd like you to personally reflect on your strengths and your opportunities for growth that will influence your personal, professional development and future decision making. This video and your assignments surrounding leadership is not to explain how to lead, but for you to discover why you want to lead and what your leadership practice might look like or looks like. I don't have any answers. Plus, you should develop and change as you gain experience. I can tell you that each year I learn something new about being a leader at central office, and I know you will too. Also, in some cases, you may change your leadership style depending on your supervisor or your superintendent. So that is something to always remember. Part of your leadership style is a reaction to the leadership style of others that you serve under. You need to think about what values guide you as a leader. No one can tell you the right way to lead, and nothing with one package exists. But and you may worry that you are not truly leading or you're not good enough at your job. But I encourage you to follow your purpose. That's something to always make sure you have in your heart and in your mind each day. Your gut reason for being a district media supervisor. Only you can answer that. But that is something that will make you a success, and it will give you joy in your work as a district leader. If you ever want to quit, don't quit. But discover what it is that's making you anxious, what you're afraid of, and try to work through it. If you're criticized, don't listen to the criticisms or take it as constructive criticism and make small changes. Develop a thick skin. Very important part of being a leader. I want you to keep your dreams big. This is an exciting time for school librarianship with the digital teaching and learning and the emphasis on reading and literacy and finding the source of facts and fake news. Exciting time, and you are in the perfect place to make a difference. Focus on big actions, not the small tornadoes that are going to pop up every hour. Take time to talk with your school library media coordinators one-on-one. Find a few that you can call when you are frustrated or you need a sounding board. They will help you focus on issues. They will refuel your inspiration. They will help you remind you that of why we are all doing what we're doing. But don't let them drain your time or your resources. You cannot always solve all their problems, and but definitely know what they are. Like you to challenge yourself, ignore most of your doubts, Um, get in tune with your feelings, be flexible, collaborative, see the big district perspective in each of your decisions. Try to see multiple sides of a problem and solutions and the consequences of those decisions. If you can at all be proactive in something, um, that definitely will help your situation. You will need to reflect on what you do, why you do it, and make appropriate changes. Communicate clearly and honestly, particularly to your school library media coordinators. They are the ones that need to learn to trust you, and you need to trust yourself in all of this. Trust your inner librarian and develop the good leadership habits that we talked about and the traits that we listed in our very first session of this course. Be courageous, whatever that means in your world. It might be just being quiet, or it might be more outspoken, but be courageous in whatever you do. Lead every day. You will build confidence and resilience, and you are a leader. Your leadership style will reflect your passion for lifelong learning for students with a focus on advancing the profession of school librarianship. There are many leadership philosophies or styles, and I am not going into them. If you are interested in this, or if you want to delve deeper, I'll just do a kind of quick summary of the ones that I feel are important and the ones that are included in the two leadership resources that I'll be referring to throughout this lesson. One of the first ones are the theory X, Y, and Z. They started in the 60s and developed into the 80s, where people are managed, intrinsic workers are motivated by intrinsic values, not necessarily external rewards. In the 1980s, we started to get an emphasis on loyalty in different companies. There's a contingency theory where your style must match the environment, and followers must match that environment as well in order to have a successful company. Um, Situational leadership, where the leader adapts his or her style to fit the follower's needs. A leader member exchange, which focuses on relationship, what the leader can do for the follower and what the follower can do for the leader. Transformational leadership. This is relies on a lot of the tenets of transactional analysis. That was a part of my teaching background, training, um, not practice necessarily. But it uses idealized influence, individualized considerations, inspirational motivations, and intellectual stimulations. Often the leaders are called more laid back, that they put out all this motivation and academic stimulation, and the followers just flock to them. Um, Emotional intelligence is another theory that plays into it. This actually, in my opinion, has some valid points that focuses on self-awareness of the leader, self-management, and relationships, which in our profession of librarianship, we are very used to those concepts, and it is easy to take some of those traits and fold them into your leadership style. Authentic leadership, which is being true to yourself, leading with your values. There's a part of that theory and philosophy that is certainly a part of our profession as well. And then servant leadership, which I personally found as um, beneficial, and I learned a lot by thinking about the beliefs of Robert Greenleaf. It basically puts your followers first. which can be, in our case, can be anything from students to our school library media coordinators to others at central office that you need to fold into the philosophy of and the goals that you have as a manager. It creates trust and helps followers be the best that they can be, which to me connected to the mentorship role that we have for our school library media coordinators. One of the first assignments that we did was list the traits of a good, successful leader and media supervisor. So after this video, I'd like you to go back to that discussion thread and look for traits that we mentioned there and see if you find any new ones or want to add to those that we listed there in that first session. Two resources that I'm using for this video is the AASL published leadership book that focuses on strategic thinking, decision making, communication, and relationship building. This obviously relates to the 4 domains of the AASL standards, and having written by Ann Martin and Kathleen Roberts, who are, as you know, a couple of our leading leaders in school librarianship, and it relates to the ASL standards of think, create, share, and grow. And they formulate this book in a way that is helpful to you as a district leader for your own leadership style and for working with your school library media coordinators to help them become leaders at their school. So I highly recommend you reading this book and using it possibly in your professional development with your school librarians. It's excellent. The book is basically directed at the school level librarian for their leadership, but it definitely will help you articulate and solidify your leadership philosophy at central office. Some of the highlights are one of the basic tenets of it is that qualified school librarians lead effective school libraries. If we always have that as our one of our purposes, our basic tenets of us being a leader at central office as a media supervisor, that that is who we're working for. That's our audience for many of the decisions that we will make at central office. Also, the tenet of intellectual freedom is every learner's right. So often at central office, the decisions you have to make are related to censorship and lifelong learning and all the intellectual freedom issues that go along with being a school librarian. You are also the advocate for this in your district or school, and don't waver from that focus. That will come up if you are ever dealing with challenged materials, supporting what the classroom teachers are using in their lessons. So that is just very, very critical piece of our leadership. And are there any district level initiatives that you can implement that require your school library media coordinators to take a broader view of their instruction and how it affects the larger demographics of the district? So this ASL standards book focuses on how the school librarian does take a broader view of classroom instruction and literacy instruction, and has a larger impact. And then obviously you at central office will have some decisions and policies that will further develop that concept. As a district leader, always think broadly. How does the email that you're working on or the decision affect other programs or other people or other district goals? How does it support district initiatives? Does anyone else need to be involved in this email or decision or project? Is it an HR, human resources issue? Be sure that you rely on the resources and experts in the HR department, particularly if you are working with a school librarian who may be on an improvement plan or is trying to switch levels or to make some changes in his or her position. Does technology involve? Are all the SIPA laws? Are the network compatibilities? Does whatever you are working on need their expertise as well? And of course, instructional services, digital teaching and learning staff is always a part of what we do. Um, if there are barriers that you encounter while you're at central office, who can help develop the workarounds? Or is there a new direction that you could take that would be less of a conflict with other people or other programs? Um, if you are convinced it's for the greater good, you need to be brave and courageous again and find a way to make it happen. Is it a small battle you're fighting, or is it the entire war? Does it warrant just kind of a solo charge and making those first contacts, or is it time to call in the supporting troops, or is it the time to be planting little seeds that will sprout later in your experience as a media supervisor? Um, have you fought the battle before? Are you still fighting the same battles? Does your experience help you find a different solution if that's the plan? Is there something else that you can do to not make it feel like a battle each time? How does your personality and your leadership style affect the situation and the results, and ultimately how you feel about the situation? Because that emotional um, strain in yourself will affect how you behave and how you are a leader at central office. How you relate to others is important during any of these conflicts. Sometimes you have to absorb the problems. If you decide to tackle the issue and try to find a way for a half win kind of compromise, are very few win-win situations anymore, I think, in our educational world. Keep people involved. Um, keep students first in your mind and in your thoughts, and see how you can move with them, with other people, other leaders, to find a solution. And it's very, very hard work sometimes. Don't give up. Same with mentoring your school library media coordinators. Use positive emotions and behaviors to influence them and hopefully redirect their thoughts and actions and talk them off the cliff if that's where they're at. Um, the broader, as a district leader, as I said, always think broadly. Think of the big picture and then break it down into small things. Um, The AASL leadership book has a great chapter on decision making that would be helpful to peruse. Um, one difference you'll find at a district level manager, you will make decisions for others to follow, not just that you're following set policy and procedures. So that is one difference that from being a school library media coordinator to being the district level. So some of your decisions can affect a lot of people. That chapter on decision making in the ASL book on leadership highlights problem solving, how it's a process of process of design. Sorry, my research and design spaces. It's So you start with design, defining the problem, implementation, and then reflection of your decisions. Identify the problem in that design phase, gather your data, design possible steps forward, and implement those steps. Evaluate, reflect, and repeat if needed. That scientific process. Try not to let emotions affect you at this point. If you're feeling emotional, write down what you're feeling, everything you're feeling, step away, and then return to it later. I've always keep a list of emails or my venting journal that I go to first to get things out, and then you can refer back to it when you need to regroup. Um, Develop emotional resilience. Don't be afraid of making a wrong decision. Things can always evolve and change. Be aware of other possibilities during the decision-making process. So sometimes you don't have the time to do thorough decision making. So just develop some practices that help you from making big mistakes. Handle the politics of the situation very, very gently. Um, State your opinion firmly, but not defensively. Try to know the other person's personality and how they approach issues, and sometimes you can adapt what you say or how you say it to alleviate some of the tension of the situations. Practice patience. Develop a thick skin. Listen and process things first, then speak confidently and unemotionally. You've all developed these skills as a school library media coordinator at the building level. At central office, you may not have the time to be patient, or you may not get a second audience with that person or committee. So developing this instinct naturally to listen and process and try to separate the emotion out and then be able to articulate your thoughts in a clear fashion takes a lot of practice. Be aware of your tolerance level when it comes to change. So if the issue involves a big change for you or your media coordinators, know what your tolerance level is and don't react or make decisions until you've processed that tolerance level. Um, that will also help you develop that emotional resiliency that you need. Then your communication style is important. We talked about this in our one of our first sessions of the class. Um, if you're wordy, try to make it clearer, more succinct. If you're a bullet point person, sometimes put in a narrative. If you're direct or managerial, add some humanistic or caring or gentle statements. Mix it up so that people know that you're not just one type of communicator. Reflect on your integrity, how you articulate things, ethical beliefs and behaviors. Be authentic. Ask yourself, why are you saying this? And how might the message be perceived? I mean, you'll hear me say several times, it's all about perception. So try to step back and look at things and read things and listen to things if they were a stranger looking at them, and see if you need to change communicating. The leadership book from ASL has several great self-assessment rubrics on communications and other self-assessment on various traits of being a leader. So that is a great tool for you to use in your personal development. Your goal is to build self-confidence so that you can be an advocate for your school library programs and affect change across your district. One of your hats as a central office supervisor is to mentor, coach your school library media coordinators in leadership at their schools and help them to be empowered to do what they need to do. That's how school library media coordinators get accomplished on their MCPAI, and that's how impact guidelines are implemented, and that's how you can grow happy and satisfied school library media coordinators. So empower the others to learn to be a leader in whatever situation they are. Much of leadership is about the actions and perceptions of your followers. One of my mantras in whatever professional development I was doing with media coordinators, I always said it's all about perceptions. The classic of, who hasn't been in a library, just taking a moment to breathe, or read something quick after being slammed all day. And a teacher walks in right then and says, "Oh, how nice to be able to work in such a quiet space." Ah, all about perceptions. Same as central office. You're both a leader and a follower. It's how people perceive what you're doing is what, in order for you to be perceived to be a leader. As a follower, you will connect your goals and program to the district goals and vision that will um, help others perceive you to be a good colleague. As a leader, your ability to relate to other people, to communicate to others, understand them, help support, will determine your success and to be um, perceived as a leader of your program. Um, as a leader, your ability to give meaning and purpose to the goals and plans that you want to deliver determines the success. Often, you are perceived as a supporter for your school library. They will perceive you as a supporter of them um, when you're interpreting changes and policies for them and help them understand the why behind the changes or important plans that the school district is implementing. School library media coordinators need to trust you and believe that you are that bridge that connects them to the district um, goals. They need to perceive that you are their advocate um, and use that framework of their school level library services and programs, use their umbrella there as that steps to build that bridge between you and them to district initiatives. Your sense of your sense of purpose guides your actions and decision making. Um, know what that purpose is and hold it in your heart each day. The other book that I have used as a reference in this is called Library Leadership Your Way. And it also is an ALA publication. And it focuses on being a leader of an academic library, but all the leadership concepts in this are very helpful to your role as developing your leadership style as a media supervisor at a central office. Summarizes some very great things in a beautiful way. There's a little graphic in there that says, "Be known for something positive: your attitude, your values, your vision, your hard work, your expertise as a librarian and as an educator, and your influence." If you feel you're working against your purpose, why you are a librarian or a central office media person, then you're going to have chronic stress. Um, it may lead you to lowering your standards or may make you ineffective. So focus daily on that purpose for leading wherever you are. It's more than just doing a good job or being a good leader. Will give you that inner core of stick to itness and joy, I hope. I hope you can feel as blessed as I was my entire career in getting up every day, eager to make a difference, and knowing that I was fulfilling my purpose as a person and as a librarian. Um, ways to help yourself. Focus on important things, deadlines first. Do the hard things first, kind of your basic time management things. When you are getting a little stressed or anxious, deal with some of the minor things you can tick off pretty quickly. Some of those emails you can respond to, but don't get sucked into the email bottomless well. Um, deal with things that need deeper research or need more data or need you to communicate with others. Do that when you're feeling fresh and strong, whatever your strong point of the day is, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's midday, whether it's in the evening after work. Um, Find that time and use that for the hard work. Manage your time. Don't let things get away with you. Don't let the little tornadoes that pop up suck your time. Do not be a perfectionist. You cannot do everything thoroughly in your normal fashion when you have to only focus on one thing. So let a lot of things go and just know that what you do is probably good enough for someone else. Um, Definitely good enough for your school library media coordinators, and your supervisor won't know what wasn't said or what phase of the project maybe isn't filled out as much as you would like. Find moments that inspire you, whether it's reading things, whether it's listening to certain music, and then share that with others. You need to reach out in order to keep that inspiration going inside of you. Always take, I know this is hard, 20 to 30-minute breaks sometime in the middle of the day for lunch, for walking, to listening to a song. Be mindful, do some deep breathing. If you're ever have the opportunity where you're going from one school to the other, I know you can't do that in COVID time, but use that time in the car to break away from your thought process and regroup. Don't always be looking at the clock and the lights to feel anxious. During COVID, when you're working at home, try to find that 20 minutes where you can separate from work and do some deep breathing and refresh yourself so that you can keep going. Figure out what energizes or renews you. You probably have already learned this through your studies at college and your the jobs that you have had so far in your life, and then do it daily. Whether it's you know what energizes you. Um, Also, add hobbies and volunteer activities when you have the time that have nothing to do with libraries. You'll find that doing those volunteer activities or hobbies that have nothing to do with libraries will make you more relaxed and will make you more creative and will give you some new insights in different parts of the world. And of course, keep reading. If you don't read children's literature, YA literature, professional literature, adult literature, escape literature, um, professional literature, you are not a librarian. Disconnect your email at night. It might be midnight, but better to wake up early with some sleep under your belt and deal with something than to let it linger on deep into when you should be sleeping. Delegate what you can. Be kind to yourself. Always think of the big picture, but work in small chunks so as not to get overwhelmed. Celebrate your school library media coordinators. Celebrate their work. Celebrate your work. Share yourself and your accomplishments with others, both professionally and personally. Model positivity. That be known for your positive attitude and your positive approach to real challenges will make a huge difference in your career. Model teamwork, model collaboration, which we do as librarians, but don't forget, be approachable and accessible, even if it's through Zoom. And in the time of COVID, it's even more hard, it's even more difficult to be seen and be heard, but make sure you're seen and heard in a variety of ways. Listen to others. Don't just manage projects, lead with compassion. Care about your people, help them be better. librarians. Be aware of what you can control and what you can influence, and know what matters to our profession as well as to education in general. You are a district level media supervisor, and as such, you are the face of school librarianship. Accept blame when appropriate, but give recognition to others who help your causes. I wish you only the best in your career as a school librarian and as a school library media supervisor at the central office or at the state or regional levels. We have no idea how our profession is going to evolve in the next 10 years and beyond. I know there are going to be school librarians as a part of our education system in the future. You are going to be a part of that. I hope you can develop a leadership style that reflects your personality and gives you great success.